Hey Wofford fans, Phil Marcello here, welcoming you into Conquer and Prevail, Tracking the Terriers, presented by Pinnacle Hospitality. Each week on Conquer and Prevail, we will check in with various Wofford Athletic staff members to see what they are doing to keep their programs ready for action. On this episode, we talk with Angie Ridgeway and Austin Lufkin. Wofford fans, we now welcome in the head coach of the women's golf team, Angie Ridgeway. Angie, thanks for joining us on Conquer and Prevail today.
Thanks, Phil, for having me. Glad to be here.
Now, we'll talk about your background just initially. Originally, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were from Indiana. Then you went to Boiling Springs High School, and then you went to Appalachian State, where no big deal, you were in the Hall of Fame there. But what was it like to kind of have that jumping around, and then you come back to this area in 2006 and take charge of the Wofford program?
Yeah, I have been around a little bit, and of course, growing up in Indiana, my first love really was basketball. But then when my family moved south, I was introduced more seriously to golf, and loved it from the start. So no matter where I've gone, even obviously at App State, golf is my thing, and that's saying a lot at App, where it snows feet in the wintertime. But yeah, I've been around, but I've found a home here at Wofford. I've been here for quite a little while, and it's a special place, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Now, one more question before we get more into the Wofford specific, part of where you're at now. You played in over 190 LPGA events. You played in some U.S. Opens. What's your most fond memory of, competing in some of those events?
Well, of course, the tournaments where you experience success are the most fun ones, and for me, the most memorable. But I have so many fond memories of playing competitive golf that it's hard to pick out just one. But I still remember sinking about a 8-foot putt to close out my low round of 64, my rookie year on the LPGA Tour, and I can't forget that. That stays with me. So, but I have a lot of wonderful memories and loved every bit of it.
That's really impressive. Now, shifting gears towards, Wofford, Erin Wells is a person that has been very instrumental in your program. She was one of the first player, if not the first player you recruited. She was, from what I understand, the first all-SoCon honoree. And now she's someone on your staff that helps you out throughout the process. Can you talk about her contributions to the program?
Sure. Erin was the first recruit that I brought to Wofford. She was a 2005 high school graduate, I believe. Was always one of our best players during her 4 years as a Wofford Terrier. She then went on to nursing school and got her MBA, all the while volunteering as an assistant coach for me here at Wofford. And she works full-time as a nurse here in Spartanburg. She's a surgery nurse. So Erin has given us a ton of her time and her insight as a good, solid college golfer, and her experience is a huge value to our athletes. So I'm happy to have her. Anytime she can help us, I'm glad to have her help.
Now we'll talk more about this past season. The team had a couple of second place finishes in the fall. You only lost one player. Obviously, the season was cut short, but having only dropped one person from the fall to the spring and then adding another player coming in this hopefully normal fall spring schedule, kind of confidence does that give you that you have a lot of continuity?
Yeah, I tell you what, we were on a roll. I feel like when COVID-19 shut everything down, and as you said, we have everyone coming back. We had one senior this year who was so far ahead of the game that she graduated in December. That was Grace Massengill. So this spring we were playing well with players who are all going to be returning in the fall, and then we do add one transfer junior. So we are in great shape. I honestly feel like we were rolling, and we're going to pick up where we left off.
That's awesome, and we'll definitely have to mention a couple of those players on your roster.
Yep.
Becca Earl, it seems every time that she steps on the court, she's liable to do something even more impressive. She broke her own scoring record from her freshman year, and she had the highest player ranking at the end of the year, 134, I believe. What about her impact? Like, when you have someone like that on the roster, what does that mean as a coach and kind of setting the tone?
It is. I can't say enough about Becca and her talent and her work ethic. And you're right, Phil. She any tournament that she enters, she has the ability to win it, and that is saying so much. She had a 72.9 scoring average, and she was ranked, as we shut down this spring, she was ranked 4th in the Southern Conference in scoring. She shot her career best 66 this past year. I can't say enough about the number of low rounds. She's a birdie machine. And when you're a birdie machine and you can minimize your mistakes, every tournament is an opportunity for you. And that's how I look at Becca's play. Every tournament is an opportunity for her to win. So she's a record setter for us, and can't say enough about what she's doing for the program.
And another one of her classmates, they will both be rising juniors, that has had some success, is Christine Torralba. She actually won a Golfer of the Week award after her performance at the Kiowa Island Classic.
Right.
What can you say about her development and maybe some of the things that you expect from her moving forward?
Yes, Christine was really coming into her own. Like you say, she finished 7th, I believe 7th, at the Kiowa Island Classic in early March, right before we shut down. That was her career best tournament. She shot 69, 73, 73, I believe. And there were 264 players in that field, and she finished. She had a chance to win it, and she probably would tell you that she should have won it. She could have just made a few more putts, but she played great, and Christine plays with a lot of confidence. She was really on a roll, and I know that she'll come in and pick up where she left off. She's a solid little player.
Awesome. Now, as a whole, when you're kind of looking at taking a step back, what do you like most about being a coach, at the college level?
Oh boy, all the things I learned from my players. It's we're fortunate. Everyone that coaches is fortunate to be around just the youth, and I don't care what age a coach is. You're here to be a teacher. Hopefully some type of mentor to your players. But we learn almost as much from them as they do from us, and just their joy. I like being around their joy and their enthusiasm for life and for the game of golf. And it's something that every day I look forward to. So I'm anxious, as every coach is, to get my players back. It's been too long already.
Right. I can only imagine. Now we'll do some more questions regarding you, some of your background. What's the favorite golf course that you've ever played?
Oh gosh.
You can name a couple come to mind.
I would say this wouldn't be necessarily where I played my best golf, but Columbia Edgewater in Portland, Oregon was a tour stop for many years. Absolutely gorgeous in a beautiful part of the country. That probably was my favorite.
What hobbies keep you busy when you're not, coaching and recruiting and maybe playing your own kind of golf?
I do have hobbies, but I would say one that I have invested a lot of time into since the shutdown the last few months has been yard work, gardening, yard work, and just home improvement. I'm a big project person, and I've had plenty of time for that, so I've kept myself busy.
Too much time, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay. Favorite TV show?
Oh goodness. My latest binge watch has been Chicago PD.
Okay. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. I'll have to check that one out. I think we're going to wrap up things there. Angie, I just want to say thanks again for joining Conquer and Prevail, and looking forward to, hopefully a normal fall season.
Yeah, me too, Phil. And I appreciate you having me on, and thanks for all you do to keep us going.
Pinnacle Hospitality is an award-winning hospitality company based in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Their growing portfolio of internationally recognized hotels include Hilton Worldwide, Marriott International, Intercontinental Hotels Group, and Wyndham Hotels. Their burgeoning restaurant endeavors are poised to create a uniquely and locally inspired social dining experience. As a full-service management company, their team provides expert management for owners and asset managers. This expert management is carried forward through Pinnacle's vision and mission. Wofford fans, we now welcome on senior defensive lineman Austin Lufkin. Austin, thanks for taking a couple minutes to join us on Conquer and Prevail.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Now, let's backtrack just a second. Before we hopped on this podcast, you were doing a yoga class. How long have you been doing yoga, and is there any other, aspects that you try to keep your fitness up with? Any other maybe unorthodox, classes or fitness that you work on?
Well, I mean, this yoga is the main thing, and I've been doing it pretty much consistently since I got home just to try and loosen my hips. That was like one of my training goals for this spring, and obviously not being on campus, I kind of still got to fulfill it myself. Other than that, any weird stuff that I do, I mean, I live on a pond, so I go swimming just about every day, and I do that for some of my conditioning stuff. And I mean, it's just good to get in the water and stuff for me.
Yeah. Now, and we were talking just before, as you put that track and field shirt on, your freshman year, you competed. What kind of skills, you threw the discus and the shot put, what kind of skills do you think can translate from, track and field, the events that you participated in, to the football field?
I think the biggest thing that any football player should get out of track, and this is why, like, I'm a big believer that, all offensive, defensive linemen should be throwers in high school. I think it's just that the hip explosiveness and just like the transfer of power that you use in throwing is like direct correlation of football. And I think it's like, I would recommend that for any football player, really.
Well, let's take a step back about your recruitment to Wofford. Was there a certain facility manager around here that played some kind of role?
Yeah. So the head grounds crew guy, his name's Andy Kaya. His dad was actually my high school football coach, and he went to my high school. So he grew up in my area, and I guess his dad told him about me, and he showed me to the coaches, and then the rest is history, I guess.
And I'm sure Andy's missing your help out because what I'm told, you usually help him out during the summers here on campus.
Yeah, And I mean, he said he's got a job for me whenever I come back, but I can't until they say I can. So
we'll shift gears a little bit more closer football related. Now, you've been part of a team that's won the last 3 SoCon titles. What does that say about the program and then your class more specifically, putting yourself in a position to hopefully do it again this year?
Well, I would say that, what it says for the program is just that, we're well put together, that we've come a long ways, because everything that I've heard about, before I got here was, there are 15 guys showing up for the summer for summer workouts and stuff like that. But since I've been here, it's been 99% of the teams here, and the 1% of the team that's not here better have a damn good reason why they're not, And I think it's just kind of the culture change that we've seen, and that obviously breeds success for us. We've had a lot of good guys, a lot of strong leaders, and, like the class that we just graduated with, Jaira and Mason and all those guys. And, I think seeing spring ball this year, not a lot of guys in my class were in that role, but I feel like once we got to spring ball this year, there were guys that gladly stepped into that role, and they took that role and they owned it, and they did a good job with it. And I think that we're going to have another strong team this year.
Now, you mentioned guys like Jaira and Mason and some of the other guys that you've, maybe different positions, but you've learned under maybe from a leadership perspective. Mm-hmm. You're going into your senior season. How do you view yourself as a leader? Do you lead by example? What role do you expect to take on in that fashion?
I think absolutely I do lead by example. When we get down and we're going through workouts, going through practice, that just because I've been around for so long and I know exactly what the expectation is, that I can do everything, at a high level and kind of just give the example for it. And I might not be the most vocal guy on the field and in the weight room, but I think that, continuing to bring the juice and just continuing to do right is the way that I can help lead.
Now, you had 3 tackles against Furman, but can you just bring us a little bit into that game? I mean, everyone around here knows the rivalry game, and that one was kind of especially built up. But to have that team success and get, get that W, what was that game like?
I mean, there's no better feeling. The way, like I said before, with the intensity of the game, it was like everybody's, pumping adrenaline, and it's just high intensity, crowds screaming, crowds yelling. And, we get into like a few different 4th down situations, and and we stopped them both times, and it's just like, there's nothing like it. And then we come off the field and go into the locker room, and there's nothing like a locker room after you win a game, especially a big game like that one.
Well, Austin, I think that'll do it for this edition of Conquer and Prevail. Thanks for taking a couple minutes out of your day, and
no
hopefully
problem.
we'll see you on campus not too long.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to talk to you.